Hello guys, welcome to another market review. I think it's going to be a quicker one than I've done before. Let's jump straight into gold. Um, I've been very vocal about how it makes sense to be bullish gold because since April it's been stuck in a range, um, but it's been compressing in the form of higher lows and equal highs in the structure of an ascending triangle. So last week, gold um, ended very strong with an attempt to previous swing highs, and the plan last week worked out a treat perfectly. Our plan was to wait for a dip early in the week on Monday or Tuesday. It happened on Tuesday, 1 a.m. and we had two plans. One plan was to buy gold on Monday or Tuesday while it is below the trend line and the weekly open of that week, which was probably something like this. And once you buy some exposure here, your invalidation was one of these lows on the premise that the structure should hold, because we've been making higher lows. So if gold is really bullish and we believe that this trend line is not going to hold and we are going to attack these highs, and we did, we can put a stop loss like this. However, we should split our risk in a way where we can allow ourselves to be wrong on this idea, because if our invalidation, we buy something like this, right, and we, it's just a 2R, so it's totally fine, but it doesn't work for me because, I might have this plan and we will review it later. I had the same plan on EURUSD and this sort of trigger didn't work, but it did on gold. So that's why it's intelligent to split your triggers and your risk accordingly. So this was one of the triggers which I didn't take because I'm not comfortable doing this when we have a trend line which has been proven to be resistance. So what I did, and I traded long this, it was a very good trade, was simply remain calm and wait for this low to be made. Show me some attempts of rejection on the weekly open, which I'm going to use an indicator for it. That would be better. Yeah, something like this. And once we had this huge candle, we flip the weekly open, we start making attempts at the trend line, we break it, and once we break it, this is why when my spider senses are tingling, I'm thinking, okay, you buy a pullback, because now you have a better way to invalidate your trade, which is on, sort of this low, or if you just simply see price breaking below the weekly open and the trend line, which it shouldn't, And you see, now we have a 3R, but not only we have a 3R, we have confirmation that the wick is probably going to expand up, because we've already seen the low of the week, which was this area here. So this is what I did. I basically waited for the pullback after the breakout, and it was a very, very good entry, and just wrote it. One thing I did wrong on this was that I drew a trend line like this, and I thought that, you know, gold lately has been reacting to trend lines, and as you can see, it's very, very clean. And I thought that, well, we're coming into resistance, I'm going to take profit. And I closed my longs here, 340.20. And I missed this move. But nevertheless, I made money. So it was a green week. That's a good week. Now, I want to get long gold again, but how do we do this? Okay. I'm trying to be cautious because there's a lot of noise on Twitter on the imminent gold breakout, and that has me feeling kind of uncomfortable because you know I was long here, no one was saying shit. Here, oh my god, everybody was so fucking vocal about it. I don't like it. Nevertheless, um, I trade more the chart than I trade people. So just like here, right? You know, I could make the same argument that you know we were making higher lows. We broke this trend line. You know, it's very similar, but on a higher time frame, on a higher scale, and then we traded high and we made a swing top, swing high, and we just traded lower. I don't think this is gonna happen and that we are gonna pull back so much. Maybe we don't even pull back, but my triggers would be to wait for the weekly open, and it's gonna be very, very similar to what I attempted here. Um, I just love to see some of these movement retraced, some pullback, and we would have a weekly open around here, maybe make a low, show me some positive structure here, and above here, then we trade higher into the all-time high. It's a very simple plan, but it just requires some patience. And just like I mentioned before, I would split my risk because, you know, I'm just thinking that the market, if it's really bullish, this should work. Same thing I expected down here. And you might not even get this. You know, the market might just make a small wick below the weekly open and start going higher. That might happen, but I'm just trying to be cautious at this high. Um, and even thinking to myself, right, I don't think that gold is going to pull back uh, this low. But even if it did, I wouldn't be bearish here, I think, because we would still have a good structure, right? So I'm open to both scenarios, but both lean to higher prices in gold. So this is my forecast for the next week, but you know, we will also have to draw the monthly open and see um, how it goes. Now, silver, it's been an interesting one. It was very, very similar. The weekly open for last week, thing came around here, and the plan was the same. Wait for a low on the first part of the week, and then expect continuation higher. I did expect some turbulence around this area, this trend wall and SR horizontal lines. But what happened on Friday was really unusual. It sort of rejected on Thursday from this SR level, and I was like, okay, these lines work. But then on Friday, it just breached through and didn't look back. I tried to short here, but I just was stopped out because I didn't have any reaction. I was expecting something like this, and then trade higher because it had been very, very clean, and also silver had been underperforming gold. But on Friday, it just flipped the script and went to the moon basically. So with silver, if we look at this, it's very bullish, isn't it? Again, we have a very, very, very good structure. We should not come below this low here. We shouldn't. So if I believe that gold is gonna go higher and silver is looking good, I think that silver is going to keep going higher, but I would just love to see some of this movement be retraced into the channel, which was being used as resistance. Very, very clean all this time along. Flip it into support, and not only we have that trend wall, this channel, we also have these SR lines. So I would just love to stack orders on silver. You see, something like this. This is how I think I'm gonna do it. On the long side, I think it's gonna pull back into this channel and the SR lines. How deep is it gonna do it? I don't know. It might just trade here and then go higher, or it might, do something like this. That's why I'm stacking orders. So that is the long scenario. But I've also noticed that, well, yeah, look at the H1 RSI. It's fairly overbought, so that makes sense to wait for a reset because, every single time the H1 RSI has been overbought. Look at what silver has done. Here it went high a bit, but it just pulled back. And here, pulled back. So yeah, I think like here, it's a bit of a divergence. But yeah, now I have a short scenario mapped out silver on this channel, which I think would work. around the 40 level, well, even a bit higher, I think you could expect something like this. This is pure sorcery, witchcraft. This is not taught in any books. This is something I've learned from my own experience. This is like a shoulder, head and shoulder structure here. And sometimes if you draw a channel from there, from the head, and you use this part as the low of the channel, you will more often than not get reactions from there. And if we have very sharp moves to the upside and we have RSI divergences, or the RSI is just overbought, it's a good chance to take a short there. So I will attempt it. So those are my two scenarios, basically. Sorry, shorts from there and longs from here. And let's go to EURUSD. This one's a bit tricky for me because last week I thought it was gonna go higher, and I had the same plan as with gold. As I mentioned, I expected to make a low earlier in the week and then trade higher, but it took last week's low. So I attempted to, this is the weekly open, right? So I did attempt to buy some here, but once I saw how much it was retracing, I was like, fuck shit, yeah, I'm out. But I just took a scratch because I split my risk accordingly, and I enter small when I don't have confirmation and I'm just being more aggressive. But you see, it did the opposite to gold. I didn't even trade above the weekly open. So my views on euro is just sort of stuck in a range here. If you look at the H4, but if you look the weekly time frame, you will see that we, and this is why I remain bullish. We had this sort of flash lower, and this sort of area looks like price just cannot push lower from there. So I think that euro trades higher, but my conviction and how to do it is not as high as with gold and silver. So we will need to remain patient, but I'm still trying to run the same playbook on EURUSD, which is to basically wait for price to make a low early on the week, map out the weekly open, trade above it, and assume that we're going to attack this level here and this H1 SR level, which I do expect the market to offer some rejection from this level. It was very, very clean how we did that on July. So I would imagine next week my ideal scenario would be to do, we're gonna have a weekly open around here, trade below, make a low, start trading higher, get offer some rejection, and we might end the week like this. I do think it's gonna take maybe some time before we can break this level here. The real trade for me is to wait and see, not even wait for a breakout from this level, but I much rather wait and see rejection from this level and to see just price sort of accept this as a new area. And ideally, I love to just see it maybe make some attempts, multiple attempts, and you know, draw this sort of compression to the upside. Then is what I would be very comfortable, and my bullish idea on euro would gain strength. Then is what I would say, okay, we're trading higher. But I'm just remaining cautious, and you know, my conviction on euro and FX markets is not as high as it is on metals. So this is all I have to offer. I'm still looking for more clarity on the next weeks. So I will jump straight into EURUSD, and this is another one where I've been very, very precise. So I shorted here, but I closed the trade here, and I missed all this move, even though I thought that it was gonna go lower. So what do we do with this chart? I do think that EURUSD is gonna keep trading higher, break this high, and we will attempt some attack around this 1.84 area, but it's going to take us some time. However, I think that price has already pulled back quite nicely on EURUSD. I just think the last move needs to take place before we can form a base and keep trading higher. Why do I think that? Well, because this was the range where we formed the base and where we broke out from in order to trade higher into this swing high before coming lower, and we've retraced all this move. Okay, the reason why I'm not long EURUSD yet is because if it wanted to go higher, probably wouldn't have come into the range which caused the up move, and this area here would be in support. I was watching the market here thinking, okay, maybe longs are on the line now, but it just broke down. Okay, and we've accepted this as our new value area. So what I think now is that the market needs to seek buyers lower. Okay, and you know, you'll see many trend lines. It's just me sort of looking for a place where it does make sense to form a base. And I do think that this area here is very good. I know it's very wide, but ultimately I think that, you know, if I have to narrow it, I think this is golden, but I just don't think that it's gonna push, you know, lower than here. It shouldn't. So, oops, sorry. I would probably like to stack some bits on EURUSD and, you know, play a wide stop. I just love to do something like this. This is how I'm gonna play it because it's comfortable for me. And then if I see a structure shift and I think we're forming a base, I will like to ride the wave and add more positions. But I think it requires some patience. EURUSD, it really is like that. Sometimes it just ranges and then it just blasts through. So yeah, this is how I build some patience. We also will have a new monthly open, and you know, we can sort of see this as making the low of the month, and then we trade higher. Euro New Zealand, and this is the last one. Today's being a quick one. I have a very, very similar playbook because they tend to move in synchrony. But New Zealand, the Kiwi, has been very, very weak. There's some divergence in the central bank statements. The New Zealand central bank is very, very dovish, and more rate cuts might be expected. AUD is stronger on that side. However, on Euro New Zealand, you see we are coming lower from this explosive move to the upside, and we've not yet even reached the top of the range where we broke out from. If you compare it with EURAUD, right, where we sort of bounced and then we traded into it, and now we're stuck in it. With Euro New Zealand, we've been coming lower, but very, very slowly. And I would just think that because there are macro reasons and also price action reflects it. The Kiwi is weaker. That means Euro New Zealand is stronger, and you know the high time frame structure is just similar, but it's like Euro New Zealand has already completed the move to the previous swing highs. So for me, I've drawn trend lines in a way where I try to map out a place to form a base, and where I expect the market to gain interest and buyers to step in Euro New Zealand. And I think that the range should hold, and we shouldn't even trade into it, right? I'm open to it, maybe like half of it. This is why I drew this long position on my stop losses down here, because I don't see why, if we are bullish, we are going to accept this range again. We shouldn't. So I'm expecting Euro New Zealand to form a low around this area where I have this trend line here and this trend line here, which is a bit more fancy. But as soon as they line up with my views, they I use them in my favor. So yeah, I want to get long here, and I also favor Euro New Zealand on longs. The chart is more bullish, and the macro reasons back it up. But yeah, those are my views. I'm still expecting a bit lower next week, and you know, maybe it's a slow drift lower next week and we don't even get the long. And we can open the market in 2 weeks and see prices stalling around here, and maybe we can say, okay, it's forming a base. I'm considering longs now, or maybe I'm already in a long position, but this is all very brief. We have to remain patient and wait for the start of the month and catch you guys next week, hopefully. So see you.